Hi, my name is Malvika Vijay and I am a student for the online course for object oriented analysis and design. I am here to present my final project for the course. So I'm going to start with the requirements documentation. This is a pretty small requirement documentation that I have. Here I I'm coming up with a race simulator which takes three inputs for each runner. That is the name of the runner, the speed of the runner, and the race percentage. The race percentage would tell me the probability of whether the runner would run or he would rest. So here in our case, we have taken the distance to be 1,000 miles for each runner, and the application should be able to accept inputs from the user interface, that is a graphic user interface, or a Derby database, or an XML file, or a text file. So now we look at the architectural diagram. So basically, we can, as you can see, that we are taking inputs from various input sources like XML file, graphic user interface, text file, Derby database. So basically, the user input is being made for each of the choices, and once the input is if the input choice is made through the data source factory, then we go to the get runner method. So basically, once we tell the system that we want to run the race through graphic user interface, then the get runner method is called, which will give me the list of runners. So for each runner, the runner thread is created, and which are supposed to be run parallelly. They do run parallelly, and the race is simulated. So once the race is simulated, the race application checks for each runner how much distance is covered. Once 1,000 miles is are covered by a particular runner, then we declare that runner as the winner. Here we look at the static UML diagram, or here we can see that the users, they can interact with the system. They can give their input. So we can take the input from the graphic user, graphic interface user, uh, and that either that or the command line user can also choose between the Derby database, external files, or XML files. And then basically they are interacting with the race application. So what it does is, after the user input is made, the choice is made, and the input is validated. So basically, race app has to ensure that it gets the valid input. So once that is done, we see that we get a list of runners, because once the choice is made based on the input choice, the list of runners are created. Like basically, the runner objects are created in the list, and for each runner, we are supposed to have runner thread, which are supposed to run parallelly, and that will ensure, once that is those are created, we will start the race. The race app will check for each runner if the distance covered is like 1,000 miles for a particular runner, then that runner is created, the winner is declared as the winner. So here comes our dynamic UML, which has all the attributes and the methods for each class that we have in our app. So as we can see that, firstly, I would like to mention that our design, our UML is very much in line with the GRASP principles, and we can see that mm, uh, excuse me, we can see that the inheritance feature is also used, because each of the data sources, like the user interface data source, text data source, Derby data source, they are all inheriting from the input data source. So which is when we talk in the technical terms, input data source is an interface which is extending all the classes, all the input classes, like XML data source or text data source. So here the inheritance feature comes into picture. We are also making use of the polymorphism feature, because the get runner method is being called because we have declared the get runner function in the input data source, but it is getting defined in the input classes, like the get runner is used in Derby data source, in text data source, in user interface data source, default data source, and XML data source as well. So here, once the choice has been made by the user, uh, it through the input data source class, we get the list of runner, and we go to the runner class. So basically, once the user gives the input, we know that what all inputs the user has given. Based on that, we get the name, speed, and the rest percentage of the runners. And then we have to make sure that the runner threads are created for that list of runners. And so the runner thread will give me the runner object, and it will give me finished as in yes or no. It's a boolean value, and the distance, which is a float value, means the distance covered by the runner. And the race app is my kind of a monitor view, I would say, which is checking how much distance has been covered, and which runner has covered how much distance. And then at the end, if any of the runner completes 1,000 miles, then that runner is being declared as the winner. We can also see that there are responsibilities assigned to each class. Like the input data source is an interface which is reading, which is extending all the input classes, and the data source factory is like getting the data source basically in terms of the user choice, and then the runner class is giving me the name, speed, and the rest percentage for each runner. So as you can see that there are individual responsibilities assigned to each class. And then so I would say that the design is very much in line with the GRASP principles. So we will take look at the final use case document, where as per the requirement we need to have a brief and a fully addressed use case. So in the brief use case, it is we can see that the user starts the race application and enters the runner details such as the name, speed, and the rest percentage through the user interface. And then he clicks on the submit button to simulate the race, and in the end it gives the winner. So all runners are simulated in parallel, and the results are purely based on their speed and rest percentage. Apart from taking the input from user interface, user can also provide input via Derby database, XML file, and text file. So in order to give the input, name has to be a character value, speed and rest percentage are float values. So this is my brief use case. And now let's take a look at the fully raised use case. So where we define the scope and the level, which is the user game, and the primary actor is the graphic user interface user and the command line interface uh, user. So here I would say my stakeholder and the interested parties would be the user, like the user of the game who wants to simulate the game with entering his own runner with his own names, speeds, and name percentages. And the race application, of course, the party which simulates the game application through Java multi-threading feature making use of object-oriented concepts and in Java code. So my precondition would be to that the user submits the input through user interface for runner name, speed, and rest percentage. And the post condition would be after submitting the input, the post condition would be that the race gets started between the runners and the winner is declared in the end. So the success scenario would be that the user enters the correct details and the winner is declared after the race is simulated. The alternate flow would be like the user enters incorrect runner name. Like let's say if he gives a numeric value for runner name or character value for speed, then the application asks to re-enter the values and the user enters the correct values this time and the race is simulated and the winner is declared. So that's pretty much about the use cases. So now I am going to give you the demonstration for my final code, the software code that I have written for the race application. So here I'm going to run the app. So here my it's a Java code, so I am going to give my input as 5, which will give me the graphic user interface. So as you can see that there is an interface that has opened up. So as these are the default values that I have taken, but I can always edit the field. Like let's say I can make dog as rat, or I can change the speed from 50 to let's say 70 and say submit. So here the winner is the rat after I changed um, the parameters. So as you can see that all the fields are editable. So now here the winner rat is declared as the winner. In the same way, I can go and I can show you um, the demo for XML file if I choose XML file as the input. So I'll say choices 2 and my file name would be okay, final XML data dot XML. And as you can see the race has simulated and now the race is over and here is the winner. So once the hare becomes the winner, so rest of the runners they say you beat me fair and square, and you can see that the XML file, I've taken the XML file and it has all the values for the runners and the rest percentages and the speed. So that's pretty much about it. In a similar fashion, you can also run the application with various other inputs like the text input or the Derby input, like that. So this is it. Kindly email me if you have any clarifications or if you would like to reach me for any further clarification. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And that's pretty much about it. Thank you very much. The course has been like really informative and rich on the content. So it has given me a very good outlook on the UML and object oriented analysis and design. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.